So now we're going to work on the Daniel's crimp tools. So first of all, you can see, you should notice something right away, that it's out of calibration. So it wasn't calibrated last year, so it needs to be calibrated. So it says check with M22520-/3-1 gauge, which is your go and no-go gauge. Okay. So it says right on it, do not crimp the gauge. This one is an Astro, and there it is, 22520/3-1. So on the 2-01, so that's the 1-0. So there's the 2-01. So it says use selection number 8 for that tool. So there's the tool. Flip it over. The lock is in, and it is, I'm gonna flip it over. It is on number 8. So how do I check? I'm going to take my tool, fully crimp it, hold it, and I should get the go gauge, should go through, and the no-go gauge should not. So it tells me that the dimensions are correct. So I'll do that again. So there's the go gauge is in. I'm not crimping on it. I'm fully crimped or fully cycled, holding it there. And then the no-go gauge won't go in. So now that tool is set to use, other than it needs to be calibrated. So what we can do now is we can get, so use with contacts, whatever. You got selection 4, 5, 6, 7, so it goes up to 20 gauge. So number 7 is 20. If I look on the sides, it says use with the basic tool. There it is, M22 2-01, and that's its number. It's M22 520-/2-08. But if I flip it over, this is what I'm looking for. So on the Daniel site, they're going to give you that K13-1, and that is the correct positioner for a D-sub pin or socket. So the positioner, if I can do this, it holds the pin at the correct height so that the tool can crimp on the barrel where the wire goes. It sets the height. That's all its job is to set the correct height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tool, place the positioner in, so it's locked. So I'm going to push it down and twist it, and it should pop up when it's locked. And I know it's locked when I can fit this the clip goes in and locks it in place. Now it won't come out. It's locked in place, and that's correct. So every time you want to make sure it's locked in place so you don't damage anything. First thing I want to do is I got to pull up on the selector and set it to number 7 because I want to do a 20. Actually, go number 6, which would be the wrong way. 7 and a number 6. Is that correct? So number 6 is 22 gauge wire. Each positioner has the information on the top of the positioner. So it doesn't go off the tool, it goes off the positioner. Again, my lock hopefully goes in somehow. So there's my lock in. So now I'm all set to crimp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my shielded wire that we just finished. I'm going to strip shielded wire. See if I'm going to move this out of the way for now. We'll put this back. Probably cut that out. Oops. So my wire is stripped. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pin for my socket and I'm going to place it on top of the wire. So as you can see the color code and I can see my window. So I verify that the wire's there, but I got way too much sticking out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to trim it. And I don't want to, I'm going to give it a little twist to keep the strands together so I don't miss a strand. And again, place my pin back or socket back on, and see there, I lost one of the strands, so give it a twist. You don't want to do this, right? Yes, it will fit, but that's the wrong way. So make sure you're going on the end where the bin code is. So there it is. Focus on that and zoom in. So there you go. Have a little bit of the insulation. I can see my wire in there, so that means the wire is far enough in to be crimped. That is a 368 bin number. The color's a little bit off. These are aftermarket pins, so the coloring is a little bit off, but that's what it is a 368, which is a D-sub pin, which I looked up beforehand on the Daniels site. So I know that it takes a K13 to crimp it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically take my wire and I'm going to place it inside the crimp tool from this side, like that. Show you. So it's inside the tool, and then I'm just going to cycle it and you'll see the jaws come out. Oops. And they're going to crimp onto that barrel where the paint is and then release. pull it out, get your tool out of the way, place it back so you can inspect it, have a look at it, and you should notice the indent marks, 4 marks roughly in the center of the pin. We're going from, you can see, so basically from this edge to the lip. Your indentation mark should be there. If you've picked the wrong wire setting, what it'll do is it'll pinch the wires right off, and if you wiggle the wire, it'll break off right at the back of the pin. So now I have a D-sub connector. It is a female connector. That's why I have a female pin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it in to the connector, and it should go in, and it should click. Oops. Try this one. Goes in, clicks, and locks in place. So now I know that it is locked. It's good to go. I'm going to go over the extraction process. So if you grab your handy red and white extractor, so the white is the extraction, the red can help you put them in. You'll notice the red is only about half a circle, where the white is pretty much a whole circle. So we showed you this, or I showed you the video of the guy doing it before. Hole right there. What I want to do is I want to get that extractor into the connector as far as I can. And I'm going to have to wiggle it and push. And I don't know, this one's going to be difficult. It's not going in far enough, so I can't get the pin to come out. So I'm going to have to put it back on the wire again, snap it over, slide it down. So what I'm going to have to do is probably give it a little pinch so it goes in, rotate it back and forth, and you see that it went there, but I can still see that little window right there. Still not far enough. See that window disappear? Now I know that I'm in there far enough. Grab the wire at the back and give it a pull. And it should pull the wire and the pin out. That's all. Now I can put it back in and extract it again and again. Fairly simple. So now we've moved over to the larger Daniels crimp tool, which is the AF8. Oops. So it tells you to use it with the gauge as well. So I'm gonna leave that one like that. Bring up the gauge. Actually, we'll put it like that. So it says for use with, I'm trying to get that to show up. Doesn't work. If I hold it this way. So with there it is there. It's hard to read it. I can focus in on it. So it says use with a 1-1, but it says use on selection number 4. So this one has the pin as well. Same thing. This one tells me gauge. So it's supposed to be 20 gauge wire or selection number 4. Put the clip back in. Cycle it fully. Hold it compressed. Put the no-go gauge in the center, it won't go in. Put the go gauge in, and it fits through, and it is there. Again, check the no-go, center, nothing, won't go in, and the go gauge goes through, goes in. So you've just calibrated it, or checked the calibration on the number 20 wire gauge, which you're going to do every time you try and use it. Okay. This one has positioners, and this one is a TH1A or a 1-02. So if I have looked up my pin correctly, I found another pin, and that pin is the correct one for this tool with a TH1A. So there is a different positioner to do a D-sub pin, but we don't have those positioners. So there's only a certain amount of pins that we can do with the large crimp tools. And to change the tool, I have to pull out these Allen keys. So it's held in by these 2 Allen keys. Now I can select the gauge of pin. So 20 gauge, a 16 or a 12 gauge pin. So to change that, just pop it, spin it, and push it down and lock. And you'll notice now it's got a smaller opening to hold the pin. I'll throw the pin in there. So the pin goes down inside, and it's ready to be crimped. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire, I'm going to strip it, test fit it, and again I got a little too much stripped wires, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take in, just trim it. Give it a twist at the end so that you can put it back on. There we go. So now I want to check. All right, you can see my wire. I got a little bit of wire showing, so I know it's not crimped on the insulation. So I'm good to go. I'm going to change this wire setting to 22 gauge because it's a 22 gauge wire. So jump it to 22. Put the lock back in. Flip it over. Place the wire in the pin all the way down. Get my fingers out of the way. Oops. Get the wire out of the way. Don't drop it. Make sure it's in there. And then cycle the tool. Pull the pin out. Shake the pin. And inspect it. That doesn't look good at all. So I must have moved the pin. So wire on the pin, rotate it. You can see my wire, can see the end of the wire. Too much in. Place it in the back, push all the way in, cycle it, come back out, and inspect your crimp. Whoops. So this time it looks better, much better, right? It's in the right spot, in the center, where it's supposed to be. Unlike the first one, right? It messed up. So it crimped on the lock part. So again, inspect where you're crimping, know where it's supposed to be from the end to the lock. It will, if you pull it out, it will crimp in the wrong position. So that looks good. Now it's ready to put in the connector.